You're listening Explore People and Life, and I'm your host Raj Taliwal. Today we have a very special guest, Bill Kirby, who will help us how to decide who should we vote for. And he has been working with the provincial and municipal. Now he's helping with federal election. And welcome, Bill, to my podcast.
Thank you, Raj. I'm really happy to be here.
Bill, can you explain difference of municipal, provincial, and federal election?
Certainly. So in Canada and Ontario in particular, we have 3, sometimes 4 levels of government. The first level is municipal government, where we have all those day-to-day decisions being made, who collects our garbage, property taxes, zoning, things like that. How high can your fence be? How many pets are you allowed to have in your house? Then we have regional government in Ontario, where there are regions such as the region of Peel or the region of Halton or the region of Waterloo, where we find ourselves. And that is a level of government above municipal. Some of the roads belong to the region. And again, in our case, garbage collection is dictated by the region, transit, things like that. Then we have provincial, which is, again, highways and healthcare and employment and, a different level of decision-making. And then finally, we have the federal government. And the federal government, which is seated in Ottawa, decides things like defense and has budgets for healthcare, which is redistributed to the provinces for them to spend in the ways that they see fit. National laws like the Family Act, or what is a felony offense, murder and incarceration, building jails, things like that, and having courts, so on. So right now, this has been a very busy beginning to 2025.
Yes.
We had a provincial election in February, and we are leading into a federal election at the end of April on the 28th. So these are the differences and the decision-making level that we are helping to elect representatives for.
Yes. Why it is important to understand voters who should we vote for?
Important. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what party we prefer. We all want the same thing. We all want to live in a good, happy, clean, safe environment to bring up our families and have a prosperous life that is not too expensive.
Yes.
And live happily with our neighbors.
Yes.
But how we get there from where we are is where people have different priorities. Some people think that money is more important. Some people think the environment is more important. Some people think that culture is more important. Some people think that immigration and population growth is more important. Pardon me. And all of those things are important. It's just, where do we put emphasis and when? So it's very important for individual voters like you and I to take the time to look at the platforms and policies that the different political parties are saying they represent. And not simply the ideas that they represent, but how will they accomplish the things that they are telling us they want to do on our behalf. Because in essence, we are electing a government at every level, municipal, regional, provincial, and federal,
Yes.
to make the decisions that you and I don't have time to do because we're busy working and exercising and taking our kids to soccer and seeing our extended families and living our lives.
Yes.
You know, it's a big commitment to
Yes.
be a politician
Yes.
and a political party.
Yes.
So it's our job to be informed.
Yes.
And sadly, most people say they do,
Yes.
but don't.
Yes.
So I think that the deciding is difficult. There is a lot of information
Yes,
that
and
comes at us.
lots of.
Some of it is true, some of it is not true.
Yes.
And it's very hard to decide what to believe.
We just had witnessed in US election, and since Trump has been in the office and
Mhm.
whole world in the chaos, and we should consider that as well, like who should we vote for.
Mhm.
And we need a leader who in the office who take decisions for us when we are working and for future. It is very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, this is a function of what our individual priorities are.
Yes.
If we have no economy,
Yes.
we really have no lifestyle.
Yes.
And everybody will struggle. And we can look at other countries around
Yes.
the world where there has been revolution or military coups,
Yes.
or the countries are very, very poor. And in Canada, we are extremely lucky.
Yes.
What we believe is a problem in Canada is nothing compared to other places in the world where you have to walk 10 kilometers just to get water that is safe to drink.
Yes.
Here, we walk 10 feet into our kitchen and we get a beautiful glass of water.
Yes.
And we don't worry about what's in that water.
Yes.
We just drink it without thinking. But
Yes.
if you go even to some European countries,
Yes.
where, Europe is a very advanced
Yes.
part of the world, sometimes the water isn't safe to drink. And even
Yes.
parts of Canada and the United
Yes,
States.
in India as well, some places people can go 10 miles to get drinking water.
Mhm.
And yeah.
So, in deciding what our priorities are, and back to your question, certainly we have a large external influence that is affecting our election here in Canada, and that is Donald Trump and the U.S. government.
Yes.
Tariffs, not just on Canada, but now the entire
The
world.
yes.
And we have to have someone who understands the intricacies and is able to surround themselves with a well-informed and knowledgeable team to handle those issues, first of all, and how we will respond. But also, we need a leader that will inspire confidence in the people.
Yes.
And this comes down to some of the different reasons that we elect our governments.
Yes.
And this election is different than almost every election I've ever participated in.
Okay.
And I've been participating in elections for 45 years. The people will either vote for their local candidate, they will vote for a party and policies or ideology that reflects their values, or they will vote for the leader of the party, or sometimes all three. And this time, more than most elections, people are voting for the leader.
Yes.
And the leader is someone who is going to be able to inspire confidence and how we are going to handle the United States
Yes.
in the face of these tariffs.
Yes.
That is not our only issue. The things that are still important, our economy, schools, cost of living, groceries, homes, etc. These are all still very important things that we can't lose sight of, but we have this dark cloud over our country right now that we have to deal with right away.
Yes.
And it's the leader of the party who will set the tone and not just inspire the people of Canada with confidence in their ability to handle this threat, we'll call it, or this challenge of tariffs, which is already affecting our economy, but to see our way through very high level negotiations.
Yes.
Has this person done that before? Have they expressed the wherewithal or the ability to address these concerns? Because it's going to be really, really important. And I can't stress that enough.
Yes.
And to me, certainly I've made my choices and I'm still watching very closely what's going on.
Yes.
And I wouldn't profess to tell people who to vote for,
Yes.
but I would encourage people to consider certain things
Yes.
when they are going to vote and how they will choose to vote.
Yes.
But the important part here is to vote.
Yes. That is really important. Who do you think who's gonna be best prime minister for our country?
Well, my opinion would be Mark Carney.
Okay.
For several reasons. Political affiliation, not necessarily one of them, but he brings the most dominant resume to the table to deal with the challenge that the United States is representing for us at the moment.
Yes.
He's an international banker.
Mm.
He has been the head of two very important financial institutions, the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, at times that were really important. In Canada, he was the head of the Bank of Canada during the 2008 worldwide financial crisis. And Canada didn't get through unharmed, but we were probably among the least affected in a negative way economically. The second was Brexit, which again, people have heard about, but Brexit was when Britain or the United Kingdom was leaving the European Union. And this was a huge change for the British economy. And at that time, Mark Carney was the head of the Bank of England. Great choice, because the two times that he was the chair of the central banks in Canada and in England, these were conservative governments, and he's now running as the leader of the Liberal Party.
Okay.
Okay, so we can tell that Mark Carney is very centrist. He's financially conservative, but his political ideology is centrist and far more to the middle of the political spectrum than, say, Justin Trudeau was, who had us more leaning to the left and a more socially conscious
Yes.
individual. And we need different things at different times.
Yes.
The other leaders, I look at Pierre Poilievre, who is the leader of the Conservative Party,
Yes.
has certainly got a great deal of political experience. He's
Yes.
been an elected member of the federal parliament for 24 or 25 years.
Okay.
He was a minister in the Stephen Harper government at the same time that Mark Carney was the governor of the Bank of Canada.
Okay.
And appointed by Stephen Harper and worked very closely with the finance minister at the time.
Okay.
And they were very sorry to see him leave. They said as much.
Okay.
So Pierre Poilievre is very familiar with Mark Carney.
Okay.
Does Pierre Poilievre bring political experience to the table? Yes. More political experience than Mark Carney has,
Okay.
but no financial experience.
Okay.
Because this is all that Pierre Poilievre has done.
Okay.
Jagmeet Singh. Jagmeet
Yes.
Singh is a lawyer
Yes.
and very socially conscious.
Yes.
He talks tough, and I think that Jagmeet Singh is sincere,
Yes.
but does not have the political clout or weight of character and position
Okay.
to carry out what we need.
Yes.
And then you have the Green Party and the Bloc Québécois and the
Yes.
People's Party of Canada,
Yes.
who are very, very low in the standings.
Yes.
And their possibility of forming government or even official opposition are very low. So I won't comment necessarily on their abilities,
Mhm.
but these are the top three. Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, Jagmeet Singh. My inclination would be towards Mark Carney because of his experience, and he will have great political support and advice around him. The challenge that we're facing is, yes, a geopolitical challenge,
Yes.
but we're facing somebody who is not political.
Yes.
He's business minded.
Yes.
And Mark Carney knows how to handle that because that's
Yes.
been his entire life. The guy has a doctorate in economics.
Okay.
So he's
Well educated.
he's very, very
expert
well educated.
Yes.
And knows what to do.
Well, recently Trudeau has been backlashed about bringing immigration in Canada a lot since last few years, and which we have lost jobs. Our kids don't have jobs, and it is living in Canada is very important to have job to run houses.
Mhm.
How do you think about we should bring immigration?
Yeah. So immigration is a very challenging question. Right now, the Trudeau Liberal government implemented a policy where we are hoping to achieve a population of 100 million people in Canada by the year 2100.
Okay,
Okay. Which
that's double.
that's more than double what we have
Okay.
right now. Canada is somewhere around 42 or 43 million people,
Okay,
which is a big number,
okay,
but a lot smaller than our neighbor to the south, who are about 330 million. So almost 10 times our population.
okay,
But we represent per capita a much larger economic strength than our neighbor, even though their economy is the largest economy in the world. So Canada has huge potential. The immigration, I believe, is a very important part of what makes Canada great and unique. I am not an immigrant. My family has been in Canada for a very, very long time, many generations, and I won't say how long. But it's very clear that because of declining birth rates in Western society,
yes,
that we will not grow as a country without immigration.
okay,
But before you can really have broad immigration, you have to have support in place. You need to have a strong job market. You need to have a strong education system. You need to have a strong capacity to build houses. And this, I think, plays into the fear that people have associated with immigration or higher levels of immigration. And it's always a balancing act, right? If you don't have those pieces in place and you invite people from all over the world to your country to live and learn and prosper, they're going to have a very hard time because they can't find a job or they can't get permission to get an education, or that education is too expensive and out of reach.
Yes.
Or we are only opening the door to Canada for very highly educated people and no refugees or people who are trying to make a better life for themselves, which is what this country was really founded on, right?
Yes.
It was France and England and Portugal and Spain and Denmark were all trying to find new opportunities and new markets for what they had to grow their own countries and using the tools that they had at the time. Now, of course, 500 or 600 years later, we are more efficient at travel. We don't have to jump on a sailboat and wait 3 months to cross the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
We can do it in 6 hours, or coming from India, 12 or 14 hours of flying. It's a very long way, I'm sure.
Yes, it is.
So the ability to get here has improved. And it's now the responsibility of Canada to open the door and be welcoming to people who want to make a better life and be part of what Canada has to offer. And I believe that one of the most beautiful things about this country is our diversity.
Yes.
In a place like the United States, you and I might have met, but the relationship would be very different. It would be more homogenous. Your accent would be different.
Yeah.
And you would be working very hard to fit that American mold.
Yes.
In Canada, you can still express your culture, your religion.
Yes.
We hear the accent because, of course, everybody has an accent. We're all from somewhere.
I do have accent.
Well, and so do I.
Yeah.
But we listen to and embrace the differences as part of what makes us special and wonderfully unique.
Yes.
And I think that is what's amazing about Canada. I've met people from, I'll take an example, Eastern Europe, where there were conflicts going on in the 1980s and 1990s where neighbors were killing each other, and they come here from the same place and they're best friends here.
Yes.
But back in Europe, they hated each other.
Yes.
Like to the point of wanting to kill.
Yes.
And, people get in arguments here, but we don't see that. And honestly, it's one of the reasons I believe Canada is easily the best country in the world.
Yes.
And that, not to take anything away from other places that are wonderful to visit, rich in history, but we are so diverse.
Yes.
And we have all these opportunities that, you don't have to travel to other places to experience. I can experience India here.
Yes.
And, to really experience the food and the history and so on, I would still have to go to India.
Yes.
But I can learn about Indian culture from you.
Yes.
And many of my other friends who are from India in different parts of India, which is a vastly dynamic country, or South America, and friends from Peru or Chile or Argentina or Venezuela or Brazil. And
like
then all
Mexican
over
food, like
oh my goodness, yes. So these are things that enrich us instead of separate us.
Yes.
And by coming to Canada, that makes the world closer, I think. And I believe that's why a lot of people come here. So personally, I think that accelerating immigration would be great because it would allow us to achieve greater economic potential that exists in Canada, different from everywhere else in the world. And to do that, we have to have educational support, and we have to have, housing support and channels to work.
Yes.
When I hear things like immigrants are taking our jobs, it's not true. It's not true. And the United States is a great example. We know that the United States has said stuff like that forever. And now the U.S. government is deporting people like crazy.
Yes, and showed on to the public, make videos like how they deported, and that's really...
Which is horrible mistreatment of people.
Yeah.
And yet the jobs that those people were doing were often the jobs that nobody wanted to do.
Oh, yes.
I mean, my children are in their early 20s and they don't want to go out to Leamington to pick fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
They don't want to do the more menial jobs,
Yes.
like working at Tim Hortons or
Yes.
McDonald's,
Yes.
and shame on them.
Yes.
And I guess that's my fault.
Yeah.
But the fact is that there is work for people who want to do it.
Okay.
And even though the Canadian unemployment rate is at 6.7%,
Okay.
and we talk about that as if it's a high number, that means that 93.3% of people
Are working.
are working.
Yes.
I mean, that's a huge number.
Yes.
That's 40 out of 43 million people at work.
Yes.
And then you back out all the children who are too young to work and all the people who are too old or unable to work.
Yes.
So, 40 million out of 40,500,000.
Yes.
That's almost everybody.
Yes.
So I think if we do a better job at providing that education and opening our doors, that our economic and societal potential as a country will be realized
Yes.
much more quickly than if we close the doors
Yes.
and isolate ourselves, which is what's happening south of the border.
Yes.
And we see how the rest of the world is reacting.
Yes.
It's like anybody but. And I think that door would already be closed, except that the U.S. economy
Yes.
and culture is dominant in
Yes.
what we see every day, especially here in Canada. You turn on the TV, it's
Yes.
CNN or
Yes.
Fox or some American comedy show.
Yes.
And it's hard to get away from.
Yes. Bill, I never understand the channels are also like not giving like actual news. As example, like Fox always praise Trump no matter what, and people who supported as well. And the CNN supported other party. What do you take on that? How much we should trust on news? Because I've seen last few months is very partial opinion, and how do we decide we should not be partial? We could be choose PC, we could choose be liberal. It's not to be I have been voting for liberal or PC so long. We should vote for, we should see the party who is best for our country and people and our future.
Yeah. Well, again, that's, what we want news to be. News is meant to be information and only information, perhaps with some context so that we understand what is happening.
Yes.
But this has always been true of media.
Yes.
Is that news is entertainment.
Yeah.
We don't watch news because the fire department saved a cat. That's maybe 2 seconds at the end of the news program. What we watch is there was an earthquake here and a volcano erupted there and there was a tsunami and there's a war or a bomb went off or when was that was it last year? A factory exploded in Israel, and the bridge collapse last year during Diwali, where a lot of people died. I mean, we hear all the bad things.
Yes,
and that's really, really hard. But and part of the side effect of that is that we become desensitized.
Yeah,
and this is why news is entertainment. We are watching for sensational things, shocking things.
That's true.
And happy stories are, we're happy to hear it.
Yes,
but it's boring.
Yes,
it's boring. I don't, I wish you a happy birthday, but I don't want to see a news story about your birthday party unless you're turning 125.
Yes,
because that's rare.
Yes,
right? But if you turned 29, then I don't care. I care because I know you, but I don't care. It's not news,
Yes.
right? We care about famous people. If Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie or RuPaul or someone else,
Yes.
it's
We just see like when marriages
That's
they
right.
split and
that's right.
what's going on in their lives, dramas. It's true.
And it's not new. It's always been that way since the beginning of newspapers. If you look back to the Globe and Mail, which is one of the oldest newspapers in Canada, the Globe and Mail was started by George Brown in Toronto in the early 1800s. And why did George Brown start the Globe and Mail? Because he wanted his political point of view to get attention every day. So the Globe and Mail newspaper is the same as Instagram today,
Okay.
or TikTok, or X, or any of the social media platforms that we use on a continuous basis. This is how we feed news to people.
Okay.
And some of it is true, some of it is my opinion,
Yes.
some of it, and news is mostly opinion.
Yes.
So to your question about how do we decide, because media leans left or right,
Yes.
they are showing their bias. So what I do is I get my news from many different sources around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps I'm a little more informed about what's happening in other countries, but I'm also looking for how other countries see us.
Yes.
And I'm looking domestically. I'm watching CBC, CTV, Rebel News, Al Jazeera. I mean, pick a news outlet. There's thousands of them.
Yes.
And I look at discussion groups and what are people talking about, and I weigh that against what I have learned, and I make an opinion.
Okay.
I think in general, people find one place because they heard something they like, and then they keep listening to that and only that. And they get surrounded by people who are all saying the same thing. And that's how we get polarization.
Yes.
That's why I'm liberal and I hate conservatives, or I'm conservative and I hate liberals, or I'm right or left, and people stop talking.
Yes.
And that's the effect that news and social media have had on our ability to form opinions.
Yes.
So again, you can't get your information from a single place. You have to look at all of what's going on
Yes.
with an open mind.
Yes, that's true.
And, nobody is going to tell you that they're closed-minded.
Yes.
I have an open mind, you have an open mind, but there are things that we don't want to hear.
Yes, it's true.
And we have to go past that, so that if someone tells you something that maybe you don't like or don't want, don't get mad. Listen, ask questions, try to understand the other perspective instead of trying to simply force what you want yourself. And this translates into all of your other interactions, so that when you make a choice, it's a more informed choice.
Yes.
Okay, and that's the hard part.
If immigration, like we need more people in here, we need more infrastructure needed in here. How do you think Mark Carney would do with that?
Yeah, so Mark Carney has not done very much yet in terms of immigration. Not that I would have expected him to. He's only been prime minister for a few weeks.
Yes.
And really only active as prime minister for 10 days, 9 or 10 days. And then we had an election. Yeah, then
since he is in the office, has been chaos with the tariff.
That's right. So that's what is dominating everybody's thoughts.
Yes.
So currently, he has maintained the status quo of what the Trudeau Liberals had implemented, which recently caps on foreign students and things of that nature.
Yes.
And a cap on immigration. And provinces have some say in that, but not a great deal of say. What I expect, and I've yet to actually inform myself deeply on this point with the parties, although some have been more clear than others. So Mark Carney's Liberals, I expect, will reinforce some of the foundations of what we need, such as job opportunities and different types of visa. Are you coming here as a student and using that as a gateway to become a Canadian citizen?
Yes.
Are you coming here as an educated person, an educated immigrant seeking asylum because there is war in your country? Are you here because you have resources, you're educated, and you've been invited or sought out by an institution, a pharmaceutical company or a financial company or a technology company to come and work in Canada because you're among the best in the world in your field? We want all of these things,
Yes.
but we have to make sure that when somebody comes to Canada, that they are being honest about their reasons, whatever the reason is,
Yes.
that they're being honest about their reasons, and that when they are seeking citizenship, that we show them what is there for them and how to obtain citizenship and become that contributing, productive part of the Canadian fabric.
Yes.
I'm not an expert in these things.
Okay.
I don't profess to be. I have visions of what
Yes.
I might think are important.
Yes.
But I'm sure there's far more to it, and
Yes.
I've never experienced it.
Yes.
But in the relationships that I've formed with people who are from other places, it is more or less difficult. I've known people who have become citizens very, very quickly.
Yes.
And I've known people who have been here for more than 10 years who are still struggling to become citizens and yet work very hard and learned French and English and are well educated, but they don't represent necessarily the demographic that is unspokenly looked for.
Yes.
So more right-leaning political parties would like to put a lid or close the door to immigration, not necessarily because they don't like people from other places, but because there is a fear that our resources will be drained.
Yes.
And that the people who are already here will suffer for it.
Yes.
And I understand.
Yes.
I understand that feeling. It's a reasonable, rational feeling.
Yes.
But what it means is don't close the door because people constantly need help.
Yes.
Like people from Ukraine or like people from Afghanistan.
Yes.
Or other places in the world where their country has been devastated by war and needs support, international support at short notice.
Yes.
We have to be open to that because if you had a friend who, their house caught fire, well, you would open your door and let them stay with you because they need your help.
Yeah.
And that's the same kind of thing, much bigger, of course.
Yes.
So we have to be willing and able to do that. And I would think that most Canadians want to do that. Because we're all very kind, giving people. Yes. Say sorry too much, but but that's who we are as a country. So I think really that argument is about